Welcome to Caleb Can't Read. I'm Jordan Rabel.
I'm Caleb Terrence.
And we are just going to sit here and fucking wait. We are close to getting a different sound recording device that won't cut shit out. But we'll wait and see if it does it. So then we'll know if we have to.
I don't know if anybody noticed,
over.
but we chunked out
It's been happening.
Yeah. There will just be strange little blips where I promise we just didn't edit it out because we said the N-word 40 times or something.
It was closer to 12. It wasn't that big of a deal.
12 total. It's not a bad number.
Look, a Flannery O'Connor is a lot. No. You see anything good lately?
Did I see anything good lately?
We're not good at small talk.
No, we're not. No, I have nothing. I come in here.
You hate it when I'm
still.
We'll stop it. There we go. Maybe not.
It's probably still recording.
All right, there we go.
Okay, cool. It's skipping. What does it want? It's your dog, and I'm absolutely not just saying that because,
there we go.
Oh, shit. Wait,
right.
no. Now
What?
we can keep going. Maybe we should just edit it and have lower quality. And we'll at least have the entire fucking thing intact. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe it will. Hey, just in case, welcome to Caleb Can't Read. I'm Jordan Rabel.
I'm Caleb Terrence.
Maybe these last 3 minutes were for nothing. We're going to find out.
Yeah.
All right. You got anything else to add?
No, it probably just cut all of it out. But it's
Probably.
okay. There wasn't really anything I'm too proud of.
We're going to see.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's get started, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
James Matthew Barrie was born May 9th, 1860 in Currymuir, Scotland, a place known for their jute.
Oh, you look real excited.
No, do you remember that? William McGonagall. They had jute, jam, and journalism. Huh? It's burlap sacks. They're known for their burlap sack making material.
Jute is burlap sack.
Yeah.
Okay. How dare you expect me to remember that far back?
Well, his father was a successful weaver named David, and his mother, Margaret, was, I believe, a housewife, though I couldn't find out for sure. Honestly, as my research has gone further into things, all that I'm finding out is that nobody gave a shit what the women did, and so they were probably a housewife. It's my best guess.
So it's not going to be noted down unless it was something very, very...
It's usually, he had a mom and she died at childbirth. Let's move on.
Several kids down the road if she was lucky.
Pretty much. Well, either way, James was the 9th of 10 children, though 2 have already passed by the time he was born. Of the 8 children that would remain, they would all have to vie for their mother's attention, as she only cared for one child, David Jr., who was 8 years James's senior. Thanks to their father, all the children were given an extra emphasis on schooling, with special attention towards being career-focused for when they got older. Specifically, they worked with a program that was popular at the time called the 3 R's. This stands for reading, writing, and arithmetic. Huh?
Is he going to inherit this corny bullshit? Are we going to do...
And although the Barrie children were all very bright, none were better, more studious than David Jr. He was hot shit, and he knew it. He even whistled a special tune wherever he went so you knew it was David coming along.
You see that a lot. You have an older sibling, right?
Yeah.
Is he better than you?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
You can say that. You say that with confidence. You are saying
with
that
confidence.
with
Yeah.
confidence.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got 50-50 on that one. Although technically they're all older than me. The other one that's successful, we're going to go ahead and call her my same age.
Yeah, growing up, my parents were very much the first one was a test. It was a test child. It's kind of like the first game of bowling. Doesn't really count. It was all practice. You, on the other hand, are going to have a strict bad time. You're going
I think I'm okay in regards to the 4 of us, me and my siblings, but I'm pretty shitty, but the bar that my shittiest one set is so goddamn
It is lower.
low.
Yeah, it is lower. You can at least do that.
Crack whore is the lowest bar. And I'm just barely getting over that. But
yeah, but
I'm
you
here.
usually suck dick for beer, which is not much better, but it's better. You know,
I suck dick and bring the beer.
It's a win-win for me. Well, I mean, but David had his own fucking theme song that he would whistle when he walks around. And I cannot think of somebody who's growing up more pompous and knows, like, I'm going to inherit a fortune than someone like that. It was no secret that
I knew a guy who did that.
No.
I did.
Really?
He didn't make his own theme song. He inserted his name wherever it would fit into syllables in songs. To make it about him,
like
as a
I'm
joke.
a Greg, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, he would just do that.
No, I don't like that.
It was pretty funny.
And it was no secret that David Jr. was their mother Margaret's favorite. She was actually very open about it. Well, one day before his 14th birthday, when James was only 6 years old, David fell into a lake whilst ice skating and drowned. The toll this took on their mother was immense. She was completely psychologically shattered.
Where'd you last see him? You don't know, he was running around in a lake singing his gay little theme song. Fuck.
No one could get through to the mother. She was bedridden for months due to grief. Little James would even try to cheer up his grieving mother, but whenever he walked into her room, she would say, "David, is that you?" And James would respond, quote, "No, it's not him. It's just me." Upon which Margaret would slip back into silence,
Fuck
and
you, James.
all efforts to talk with her would cease. So what James would do instead, to get his mother's attention, was respond to being called David, and act like him, and talk like him, and even whistle his little fucking theme song.
Okay.
And it worked.
This is nonfiction, right?
Yes.
Oh. Alrighty.
Margaret began paying attention to James, and only James, all while calling him David. And none of the other kids got to hang out with their mom. Just him, because he was scary manipulative.
Oh.
So Margaret would read James tales of sea adventures like Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe, or tell him stories of her travels from when she was a little girl. But James's favorite was when he'd get that affection he so desperately wanted from his mother, when she would hug him tight in a half-awake state and say shit like, quote, "Now that you're dead, you can be a boy forever." That is unfortunately a direct quote.
Oh, it makes it so much creepier that he was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
turns out this would have a very lasting effect on James as he became a victim of psychological dwarfism. In a strange case of mind over matter, he didn't want to disappoint his mother by growing up, so he didn't.
bullshit. If that worked, I'd be over 6 feet.
By the end of his life, James Barrie only grew to be 5'3". Now,
That's got to be coincidence. That's not a thing. That's not a fucking. That's just a happy coincidence, or a happy for him coincidence.
I mean, I don't know, man. I think there are studies
You
on
cannot
these.
think yourself to be a short person or a tall person.
You could probably do it by the time, like, you know, when you're in
I don't know.
stages of growth,
Maybe if you like stayed really malnourished, but there's no fucking way you can just like be.
Maybe. I don't know. Honestly, I didn't read too much into it because there were a lot of big, scary words. Now, with his mother's incontinence and his father working all the time to support just
incontinence.
Yeah.
Isn't that?
Was that a pee-pee thing?
I think that's a poo-poo thing.
Oh, is that a poo-poo thing?
I think that's a poo-poo thing. I think you meant.
Do you poo-poo too much or poo-poo too little?
I think you poo-poo. I think you incontrollably poo-poo. I think that's what's on
I've got incontinence.
That's what's on the adult diaper bags, man. You goofed.
No, I didn't. No, with his mother's incoherence, probably is what I meant.
Here we go.
And his father working all the time to support just a humongous family, James's eldest siblings, Alexander and Marianne, took over the father and mother roles, respectively. How do you know his mother wasn't incontinent? There you go. Who did the research?
Covering that.
Cover it in what?
No. Move on.
So Alexander and Marianne, they both worked as teachers at the Glasgow Academy. So when James was 8, he went there. Then to the Forfar Academy at 10, and finally to the Dumfries Academy at 14. And it was here at the Dumfries Academy, what would essentially be his high school years.
Wait, his mom didn't come with him?
That's
No,
a
I'm
good
serious.
question. No.
Oh, do you think that was worse or better for the beatings?
I think she was probably, well, I mean, worse. He's already small, you know?
Yeah.
And it was here at the Dumfries Academy that James first made some real friends. They were a very similar group of nerds who all had a fascination with pirates as James did, and would often play swashbuckling adventures at one of their houses. together creating a saga of pirate tales that would be the basis for James's most famous work. And they felt their stories were so good that they formed the drama club at Dumfries Academy, where they had exactly one production, written by James, called Bandolero the Bandit, based on the tales they created while fucking around after school. But remember, this is like 1877, so the play was quickly deemed immoral by some of the school's governing board due to the sinful nature of pirates, and they couldn't perform after that.
Why were they?
Pirates are sinful, and you just can't do that.
Oh.
What the fuck are we supposed to make a play about?
Are you just supposed to read the Bible? I can only read this shit so many times!
Look, Father John, we have done the resurrection of Christ so many times. We know it. We're very tired.
Maybe me and the resurrection of Christ need to just take a little break for a while.
Maybe seeing the rise in you kids gets the rise in me.
For now, cool pirates. And not my mom, which I am very thankful for. We're dumping that forever, right? That's just going to stay in the beginning of the podcast, the creepy mom shit? Or are we going to go back to that later?
Oh, with his mom?
Yeah. Is that done
no,
with?
I think that's done with.
Is he just...
That's basically to give you the frame of mind in which he's in. What he grew up with.
Okay, I'm really just hoping that he just went to school, blocked that off, met some people, and then he's like, we're just going to fill that up with pirates now.
Absolutely not.
Weirdly.
No, it very much becomes a part of his story later on.
Okay.
Now, but regardless of the poor reception James got from the school, this small foray into screenplays let him know that his true passion lay in writing, much to his parents' grief. It's like we've mentioned before, every parent's worst nightmare is an art student. While enrolled at the University of Edinburgh, James would write several reviews for the local plays performed in the Edinburgh Evening Courant as a side gig, while also learning the do's and don'ts of stage production.
Good push.
Yeah. He graduated from the University of Edinburgh in April of 1882 at the age of 21, and began his writing career shortly thereafter, sending stories to literary journals here and there, based on the tales his mother told him of her childhood while he was a kid. It later became the basis of 4 books: Auld Licht Idols in 1888, Better Dead that same year, A Window in Thrums in 1890, and The Little Minister in 1891. He also began using his pen name at this time, calling himself J.M. Barrie. Now, the problem with these stories was that his mother, a Scot, loved Scotland, but painting Scotland in a favorable light was looked down upon by most people in the United Kingdom because the English said so. Basically, if the English liked something and it was considered hip, but if they didn't like something, well, you weren't allowed to like it either. And the English had a definite hierarchical system of which countries in the UK were best, with England as number 1 and everything else pretty much sharing the spot for dead last.
I did not think there would be a... Never mind, go on.
Curious what that thought was going to be.
We'll get back to it. Go on, please.
Now, this notion of not being ashamed of being Scottish was called the Kailyard School of writing and was seen as a lesser form of literature. Despite this, guess who liked it? The Scottish! So although the English deemed J.M. Barrie a trash writer, he was still receiving acclaim for his work, although sales were still poor because no respectable bookstore would ever sell anything that's part of the Kailyard School.
Not even the Scottish ones?
I don't think they're allowed to own things.
What?
Well, he's in England.
Oh, okay.
His mom is Scottish. Yeah, no. The English own things. If you're Scottish there, I mean, you're probably a housewife or a dishwasher or something.
A dishwasher named Mary.
Mary.
Oh, no, that's Irish dishwashing name.
That's right. It's too goddamn Irish. I know. Flannery! But what Barry's attention was really focused on was theater anyway. The performances he put on were infrequent, but as far as I could tell, were still received well by the public. They would only last a couple of nights each, if that, but for the most part, they were dumb little comedies, so it was kind of normal. Now, aside from theater, one thing J.M. Barrie loved was the game cricket, and he had a very strange group of friends. Members of the group were people like Winnie the Pooh creator A.A. Milne, Sherlock Holmes creator Arthur Conan Doyle, the Jungle Book author Rudyard Kipling, and sci-fi superstar H.G. Wells.
Do we have height stats on those men?
Oh... J.M. Barrie is still the shortest.
Should we acquire them real quick?
No.
No. Seriously, because when you're a short dude, like you're the tallest friend I have.
All right, you know what? Yeah, go ahead and
All
pause
right.
it. Let's look this up.
Hang on. All right, 1, 2.
All right, so I don't know about A.A. Milne and Rudyard Kipling, but I have to assume that they were of normal height and nothing notable.
What was normal height for the time? Pause again.
Well, I'm so glad you asked. 5'10".
Okay, 5'10".
Yeah, 5'10".
That was the average height for the time. In the area?
Yep, in the area. I looked
or
it
is
up.
that no?
No, I looked that up. That's 5'10",
Okay.
average in the area.
Okay, in the area. What's the area? Jordan?
You're seeming very.
I want to know.
What's what?
I don't fucking know, but I'm on this, and I just want you to give it to me.
What do
all
you
right?
want?
I just want to know the average height
Of men in that area.
of dudes in England at that time.
Yes, that's what I typed in.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't
5'10".
trust you, but okay, it's 5'10"?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can assume that those two.
You're very defensive.
Okay.
So those two are 5'10", let's say.
Okay.
Arthur Conan Doyle was 6'1".
Okay. Damn.
Yeah, he was getting all the swipes on Tinder.
He's Chad as fuck.
And H.G. Wells was 5'5", which is what I kind of
Holy
expect
shit.
from him, honestly. He's a little fucking nerd.
That's so surprising to me. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Because
just
normally, if you're like a short person, you surround yourself with other short people, like unconsciously, and then when you see tall people, you're frightened.
well, sure, but I mean, you're frightened, you're scared, you run under the fridge. But
like you're like, I need my tall friend, and I look over at you, and you're like, I'm still small.
to be fair, J.M. Barrie is I mean, he's getting known for his not his writings necessarily, but his plays. They're stupid little adventures or comedies or whatever, and they're fun. Fuck it, it's fun. And so he's hanging out with people who are also writers at this time. Now, I don't know if these guys are just aspiring writers at this time or if they are full-fledged like
Oh, okay. So if you have talent, you hang out with other people with similar talent.
Of course.
And you
yeah.
don't just have some weird short people thing while you putz around and do nothing.
Yeah, duh.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jordan.
You see, in high school, what they would do in the cafeteria, and I'm explaining this to you because you never went, but there were,
Thank you.
the jocks, it was because they all did the same bullshit. They were not separated by wealth, creed, nor color. It was just the jocks, and then there were the thespians. And then there was another group of thespians who hated that group of thespians because one of them fucked the other's boyfriend.
Okay, so that's how it worked. Now,
Yeah.
out by the bus stop where we were all smoking pot, we just went by height and then just separated from there.
You separate. I'm losing too much energy by having to pass down to you, dude. Every time I want the doobie, he's got to fucking jump.
Okay, please excuse me.
J.M. Barrie, he has a group of cricket people that all love cricket.
Ugh.
And it just seemed like Barrie like bumped into these people every so often and would become lifelong friends with them. So just all these guys got along great. And they were all into cricket. So in 1890, Barrie created his own cricket team called the Allah Akbaris.
My gut instinct was to say that did not age well, but from the joy that
It's
I got
still
from
pretty
it,
funny.
I'm going to say the opposite. Actually,
Yeah, this story isn't going to do anything with anything, but fuck, that's funny.
Well done, sir.
So, for one of these plays that J.M. Barrie was putting on, 1892's Walker London, a 30-year-old actress named Mary Ansell wandered in for the role of Nanny O'Brien, and J.M. Barrie, 2 years her senior, was smitten. Mary and James courted for...
That's a weird way to find a date. I'm going to write a part clearly for my mom. the lady who fits it best, I'm going to make her extremely uncomfortable.
I can imagine how we somehow bumped into her. She just felt something grazing her shin and was like, ah, fuck, what? Oh, hi.
Her ankle. What the fuck?
He just comes and like schmoozes on her like a fucking cat.
Yeah.
Fuck, he's not that short. It's really offensive, but it's funny.
Look, man, if you're under 5'5", you might as well.
You might as well go yell at people in a bagel shop and go viral.
What are you referencing?
I'll show you later.
Okay. 5'9", though. 5'9's king of the manlets, and I'm holding to that. That's notable.
All right.
That's bare minimum. I once again have barely gone over the bar.
You know, when you cut your hair, you go down to 5'7".
That's why, look, I'm wearing heel boots. Okay?
That's why I'm wearing my stilettos today. Well, Mary and James courted for only a little while before getting married just 2 years later on July 9th, 1894. And James commemorated the occasion with a St. Bernard puppy they named Porthos.
How do you think he smoothed over mixing up her name with his mom's?
You know, if you're in a kinky relationship where she's the dom, just calling her mommy's fine, I guess. But he did give her a St. Bernard
that's
puppy.
Never acceptable.
He named
that's
Porthos, named, I assume, after one of the Three Musketeers. Now you may continue with that kinky thought.
No one gives a shit about the dog.
I need to know what happens to the
How
dog.
dare you? When the spirit takes me, you let it flow.
I looked a lot into this dog. I needed to know everything about him.
Yeah, because you're one of those obnoxious fucks that runs up and pets everybody's goddamn dog.
People like it.
No, you're a fucking idiot. You don't know that dog, Jordan.
Yeah. Duh. That's why I'm introducing myself.
How would you like it if random people were like, oh, look at that fat piece of shit. Can I put my hands in his goddamn face so he'll sniff it? No, you would not like that. Leave him alone.
What are you referencing?
Me?
You?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
I'll
Anyway.
bite. I bite.
I don't remember my train of thought there.
Now, with James's rising success in the theater world, he was commissioned to write a play that would premiere at the world-famous Savoy Theatre in London. He was given an all-star cast, an all-star composer, and will be playing to a sold-out audience with the owner of the Savoy in attendance. This was the fucking big leagues. So, of course, J.M. Barrie had a bit of a panic attack. Afraid he couldn't finish the play in time, Barrie asked his good friend Arthur Conan Doyle, the well-established, at this point, author of the mystery series Sherlock Holmes, for help. And on May 13th, 1893, the long-awaited Jane Annie premiered. And by the end of it, people were bored out of their fucking minds. It had something to do with like a girls' school and golf, and most people didn't know what golf was at this point. Well, J.M. Barrie and Arthur Conan Doyle, they could read the room from their box and decided to leave before the play was finished. Now, they did later revise the play to make it better. If you like
golf, you'll love theater about golf.
Yeah, I don't know why people were just like, what's it about? Fuck if I know. All right, let's go.
No, dude.
They did later revise Jane Annie to make it better, but the damage was already done. While it did continue to be played at the Savoy for about another month and a half, it already had a bad reputation. Luckily, J.M. Barrie was able to revive his career with his next two plays called Quality Street and Admirable Crichton, which were both runaway hits. However, we're not going to go into those plays, as we're not here to discuss J.M. Barrie's role in theater, we're here to discuss his books. And only one play in particular.
Wait, book or play?
Play. Because it goes into his career as an author. Now,
excuse me, good sir.
Before I continue any further, I have to emphasize this to you. Look at me. J.M. Barrie
I don't want to look at you.
Is not a pedophile.
I don't like eye contact.
He's not a pedophile, okay? Look, we're going to get into some Michael Jackson level shit here, but I mean it. Until I
What do you mean he's not a pedophile, but we're going to get into some Michael Jackson level shit?
Area therein. Look, until I started research on this guy, like, I actually dug into it, I'd always heard that he was a pedophile. I've told people he was a pedophile. I decided I would do an episode on him
Jordan, I swear to God, if we release an episode of something where we're the only ones defending a clear pedophile, then you present information to me to the contrary.
Look, hey, no, I went into this episode because I thought he was a pedophile. It was the first thing I learned about this guy.
Yeah, just like that one weird dude totally didn't kill any kids ever. Yeah, totally. Like,
no, we knew that.
Oh, we did?
Oh, for sure.
Once again, the pictures. I'm not going to go over it again.
Look, J.M. Barrie being a pedophile was the first thing I learned about this guy from a professor at my college. But he isn't. He just isn't. The rumors came pretty soon after his death, and there's no evidence whatsoever to support it. And no one ever mentioned anything. More evidence suggests that he was actually asexual more than anything, but we'll get into that later. Now, with that out of the way, J.M. Barrie was a frequent visitor to the Kensington Gardens, essentially a park that rests just outside of Kensington Palace in London. It was a place that James would often walk his St. Bernard, Porthos. At the time was a group of 3 children and their nanny, Mary Hodgson. The kids were 4-year-old George Davies, 3-year-old John Davies, often going by Jack, and their infant brother, Peter Davies. And the Davies family would regularly run into this little man with his big dog on their walks, and they started to recognize one another. And the kids were cute, you know? So Barrie would, like, wiggle his ears at them as he walked by. On command, he could do that thing. Or have the dog do a trick. Just kid shit, right? And they fucking loved it. They were excited to see Barrie anytime they took a walk to Kensington Gardens. And yes, he was a little creepy, but I swear it was innocent.
Man, shut the fuck up. You
What?
building it up creepy as hell. What do you...
I'm not. I'm just... Because the rumors abound. And honestly, I think that is the first thing that comes to mind, rather than, oh, who's J.M. Barrie? He's that pedophile. Like, nope. No, he's not. Now, anyway, by chance, because I think this guy gets a little close with the kids and it crosses boundaries, but he just didn't have the mind to tell himself, like, maybe I shouldn't do that. Like, maybe it's weird to play with kids. Like...
You don't think any of his cricket buddies ever were like, hey, that's fucking weird? Really?
I don't know, man.
You think he was involved in like a sporting community? And
a tiny
was like,
sci-fi man, a well-known racist, dude that was into the paranormal, and another children's author? Yeah, no, they were probably like, yeah, that's fine. We like cricket. We all like children. Anyway, by chance... J.M. Barrie and his wife Mary Ansell were at a dinner party in December of 1898 when who should be mutual friends with the host but the Davies boys' mother, Sylvia Davies. And she got along famously with James, even inviting him over to hang out with her kids at their own home. Oh, she was so excited she went home and told her husband Arthur, who was just like, wait, what? That weird guy from the park? You fucking invited him here? So while Sylvia fully encouraged her kids to play with J.M. Barrie anytime he happened to drop on by, which was often, her husband Arthur rightfully thought it was a little fucking strange.
Little fucking strange?
Yeah. You mind if the kids come out to play? Yeah, John, here's a fucking football.
That's weird. Let me check outside real quick. That sounded like yep, that's a grown man. Get the fuck out of here. Like, no.
That's not a cat on the windowsill. It's fucking James Barrie.
Grown man with a big-ass dog. Once again, I don't know that dog.
But he never got in the way of his wife's decision to treat him just like another child of hers. The kids came to know James as Uncle Jim.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and he was very much like, you know, she'd be like, hey guys, milk and cookies, and they'd all be like, yay! And James is just like, yeah! You know? Yeah. And in 1900... the Davies had another child named Michael, and this kid was so charming that J.M. Barrie wrote a character into a book he was writing that was based on Michael's likeness. They had their last child, Nicholas Davies, often called Nico, later on in 1903, but for whatever reason, Barrie never interacted with that one as much, so we're just gonna go on. Anyway, the book J.M. Barrie was writing was a collection of short stories published in November of 1902 by Hodder and Stoughton, called The Little White Bird, or Adventures in Kensington Gardens. And while the book itself wasn't anything to write home about, mostly just a bunch of pirate tales which Barrie always admired, what it is remembered for is the story of a 7-day-old infant getting lost in Kensington Gardens. Basically just Baby's Day Out. You ever see that movie?
No.
All right, it's about a baby that just, it's like a big old Mr. Bean sketch of the kid just like walking by shit and crazy shit happens, and it's like a big Rube Goldberg machine of the city.
Is it a bunch of, oh, the baby almost died gags?
Yeah. Yeah. Haha, he's putting his hand right in that blender. Oh, the gun's in his mouth.
Oh, do you think he's going to time it well through the guillotine?
The movie's actually 40 minutes long, and it just ends with the baby's head cake.
Just like, holy shit, like,
well, basically,
I didn't like this at first, but we're fucking an hour in, and they still have gags.
Basically, the story was just Baby's Day Out, but in a Victorian setting where he, like, dances with fairies and uses a bird's nest as a boat and shit. He even does some real dark shit, like making graves for the kids who get lost at night.
Oh.
What?
This is such a creepy combo, man.
It is. Well, he's got a lot of death and childlike wonder in his eyes, you know?
That's the most unsettling combo fucking possible, dude.
Yeah. Another Henry Darger in the making. Anyway, while the baby itself was based on Michael Davies, J.M. Barrie named him after the middle child, Peter. And since he rides around on an imaginary goat-like mythological goat, like Pan, who plays the flute and shit. The character, of course, becomes none other than Peter Pan.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Get the fuck. God damn it.
Oh, we're gonna go into
the Peter Pan episode, man. God damn it. Okay.
Hey, but come on, it started off with dead children, so it's all right.
And it's gonna end with children in tights. Awesome. Great, Jordan. Thank you.
Now, this one work in particular would be the start of J.M. Barrie's crowning achievement. And a couple of years later, in 1904, Barrie unveiled his latest play, Peter Pan, or The Boy Who Wouldn't Grow Up.
Oh my fucking god, is Peter Pan a proxy for this guy?
Yeah.
Oh! Gross! Gross!
Right?
What the fuck?
You can't fucking grow up.
God damn it! I don't know why I didn't find that creepy before, but for some reason that really has highlighted it. God damn it, dude.
Yeah, I do. You know those... You don't even need the pedophilism, because it's not there. But
once again, another unknown, undiscovered reservoir of innocence has been lost.
This, again, is not about Dr. Seuss. So the play premiered at the Duke of York's Theatre in London.
The what?
Duke of York's Theatre.
Yeah.
Shut up. Before his producer changed the title, it was actually The Boy Who Couldn't Grow Up, not The Boy Who Wouldn't Grow Up. It was physical. He couldn't do it, Caleb. But he wanted to change it to sound less tragic. In reality, we now know that Barrie initially called it that because he literally could not grow up.
No. Wouldn't is actually way more unsettling if you think about it for a second, because then you're just thinking of like a balding middle-aged man dressed as a child acting like a child. If you said couldn't, then it's like, okay, he's still a boy.
Okay, but now we are looking at Barrie, who couldn't grow up. And we're looking at somebody who's maybe stalking kids.
No. Barrie wouldn't grow up.
He couldn't.
Wouldn't.
He had psychological dwarfism.
Just because he's short doesn't mean he's a child, Jordan.
I know that. Now, the story would, of course, be about the chaotic Peter Pan as he has adventures with John and Michael, named after the Davies boys, and their sister, Wendy. By the way, Wendy was literally not a name before this.
What?
Yeah, Wendy, the name, did not exist.
Oh.
You see,
Are you going to tie in my burgers to this?
Oh, that made it sadder, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You see, J.M. Barrie was friends with another child before he met the Davies family. Margaret Henley was the daughter of literary critic and friend to J.M. Barrie, William Henley. And although Margaret sadly died at just the age of 5 of meningitis in 1894, Margaret was enamored with James. She couldn't pronounce her R's, however, so she always called him Fwendy instead of Friendy. J.M. Barrie named his character Wendy as a small remembrance for Margaret.
Okay.
Anyway, even though the tale... Smile. Even though the tale of Peter Pan first hit the stage in 1904, J.M. Barrie made constant changes to the story until it was published as a book 7 years later in 1911. And because I don't know how much of it changed over the course of the years, we'll just discuss the final product here and see how many instances of Barrie's life show up in this. Quote, "All children, except one, grow up. They soon know that they will grow up, and the way Wendy knew this was this. One day when she was 2 years old, she was playing in a garden, and she plucked another flower and ran with it to her mother. I suppose she must have looked delightful, for Mrs. Darling put her hand to her heart and cried, 'Oh, why can't you remain like this forever?'" Now look, if you've seen the animated Disney film,
Everyone's seen Peter Pan.
I know. You've pretty much read the book. But just to recap, this is the story
You're definitely not going to fucking watch it after this shit.
This is the story of Peter Pan, the boy who refused to grow up. With his faithful fairy Tinkerbell, Peter often finds himself flying by the open window of the Darling family in nighttime London. Here, Peter can listen to the bedtime stories told by Mrs. Darling to her 3 children.
God.
Michael, John,
Damn it.
and their elder sister,
God
Wendy.
Damn it.
What?
Jordan.
What?
Do you realize what this means?
What?
The family that he was hanging around with, where he was like the uncle figure, this means he at least was sticking around at their house, probably outside after dark, listening to bedtime stories and going creepily. Okay, if not breaking into their room at night and dicking around with them. Not like
Actually, my theory is
that is a bad way to say messing around. Messing around is bad too. Shit.
Actually,
All right.
I think he was probably invited to a sleepover. So
No fucking way. No goddamn way.
Hell yeah. What's wrong with having a sleepover?
What's
you
wrong
build
with
a pillow for it? You guys both talk about your gout, you know? Like kids do. Well, one night, Peter Pan is caught being a fucking sneak by Wendy when their mother is out of the room. Yeah. In his haste, Peter accidentally outruns his own shadow. Since then, Wendy has held onto it, waiting for Peter's return. One night, Mr. and Mrs. Darling go out for a night on the town, leaving the children in the care of their Saint Bernard, Nana. Well, lo and behold, Peter comes back for his shadow, and Wendy helps Peter sew it back on. And I never understood this in the movie, but Peter tries to rub the shadow onto his foot with a bar of soap. Do you remember that? I didn't fucking get why he was cleaning the sole of his shoe.
I don't remember the animated film very well. I don't remember the live action one very well either. I just remember a lot of Robin Williams yelling.
Yeah. Wait, Robin Williams?
You never saw Hook, dude?
Oh, Hook. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. I thought you meant Pan, the one that they made in like 2015. That was like
no, I ain't seen that
no. Hook. Yeah, no. We actually we're mutual friends with people that know what's his fucking name, Rufus or Ruffio or some shit.
Oh yeah. Rufio. Yeah.
He's a Filipino guy. He shows up to parties sometimes. Yeah, it's kind of cool. He's the voice of
you just start chanting it next time he comes in, so he just like, God damn it, and like storms out.
He's the voice of Zuko too, I think. On
really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway,
cool.
If you know a Filipino, you're probably gonna get introduced to all of them. So they're just around. Oh, I'm allowed to say that because I'm married to one.
Okay, cool. Give everyone more information about your wife.
So what if we live on 2819? No,
don't.
That's not my real address.
Don't fucking look, man. The odds are really good here, but don't play chicken with the internet. like I don't think that many people are listening. It's still just unwise. Like,
that's fair. Hey, can you do me a favor and crack me open another beer?
Jesus, Murph. Yeah, do you want a Rogue or Blue Poon?
Let's do Poon.
Okay,
thank you.
Please proceed.
So, Wendy, though, in the book, she just does this thing while he's trying to fucking rub the shadow onto his foot with a piece of fucking soap. She goes, "Oh, Peter, you can't stick it on with a bar of soap. It needs sewing." And I was just like, but wait, why would he do that in the first place? But in the book, it's sort of explained where he does the same thing, and Wendy says, "How exactly like a boy?" And it's supposed to mean that boys are naturally dirty creatures and they don't know what fucking soap is. So he was just trying, like, to think it was glue.
Yeah.
Anyway, Peter mentions how he's been by the Darling household for all of their bedtime stories and was hoping to get...
if he thought it was glue, he'd eat it.
I don't think he knows what glue is. Right. Anyway, he was hoping to get a bedtime story tonight, but it's just unfortunate that Mrs. Darling is out and all. And Wendy's like, well, actually, I know them all. So Peter figures, what the hell? I might as well recruit new members for my gang right here. You see, Peter is the leader of a gang of children back in his home of Neverland. The gang, called the Lost Boys, who are not vampires, consist of children that get lost in Kensington Gardens and aren't claimed for 7 days. He's always on the lookout for new recruits.
They're dead kids.
Yeah, they are. And I think he's...
Oh, and let me fucking guess. He names them after the fucking grand...
Actually, I think he's like the ferryman. Because here's the thing. He's always on the lookout for new recruits because when a lost boy starts to grow up, it is stated that Peter, quote, thins them out.
What the fuck?
They don't elaborate. They just say thins them out.
This guy dies with the fucking husband of that household literally just going over and being like, no, I'm strangling him. After he reads this, like, are you fucking kidding me right now?
He just has his fifth brandy and he's just like, will you pat me on the head like a good boy? And he's just looking at his empty glass like, tonight's the fucking night. So Peter invites the Darling children back to Neverland. And to do so, he teaches them to fly using, quote, lovely little thoughts. And of course, fairy dust captured from Tinkerbell. The use of fairy dust actually came in after the first stage show, as J.M. Barrie was getting letters from parents, quote, about no one being able to fly until the fairy dust had been blown on them, so many children having gone home and tried it from their beds and needed surgical attention.
This is genuinely concerning.
He's harming children from afar.
In the context you have presented this to me, yes, I am concerned.
As they arrive to Neverland, Tinkerbell runs ahead and tells a lost boy by the name of Toodles that Wendy is a bird Peter's been trying to kill.
You can pick your own name here. Toodles! Okay.
Call me Chainsaw! Now you're Toodles. So she tells Toodles that Wendy is a bird Peter's been trying to kill the last several days because she's still an unnerving cunt in the story, just as much as she is in the movie.
What?
Tinkerbell? She's a total bitch in the book.
Okay.
Just like in the fucking movie. So Toodles shoots Wendy with a fucking arrow, where she falls to the ground and slips into a coma when she hits. Well, once things are cleared up that Tinkerbell's just being a big old bitch, Peter and the Lost Boys build a small house around Wendy until she recovers. This is reminiscent of what we would call a playhouse today, like those little playhouse ones, you know, the ones I'm talking about, out in rich people's backyards.
Yeah, fucking playhouse.
Yeah, but back then, it was actually popularized by the Peter Pan story and were called Wendy houses for a time as a result. On another note,
look like?
Same thing. But like it became such a thing because of this fucking
No, it's not the same
story.
thing. They're always like them weird little plastic ones.
Yeah. Well, they're made out of plastic now. Back then, it was just wood.
So they constructed a little stone cottage out of wood?
Yeah.
Instead of plastic?
They didn't have plastics back then. That didn't come about till like 19...
Especially not in Fantasyland.
50s
Oh yeah,
or
we're in
60s.
Fantasyland. Never mind, I'm being critical. Let's go on.
On another note, when the English mine owners came back to their mines in South Africa and saw the shitty, cramped little shacks that workers were living in, they joyfully started calling those Wendy houses too.
Oh.
So now that actually has a different connotation in South Africa. You can call them Wendy houses in England, but if you go to South Africa and says somebody lives in a Wendy house, they're going to kick the shit
Thank
out
you.
of
If I am ever able to escape the United States and I
Why
end up in
wouldn't you
South
go to South
Africa,
Oh, that was my number 2 pick.
I'll be sure to watch my fucking mouth.
Mm-hmm. You should do that anyway. You should do that here.
I know.
Now, as Peter guards Wendy from pirates outside of her Wendy house, he eventually falls asleep. Quote, after a time he fell asleep, and some unsteady fairies had to climb over him on their way home from an orgy. Unquote. Back then,
But
an orgy just meant a party in which you drink.
I wish I meant the same thing now.
I've finally been to one. As soon as
I have been invited.
about fucking time.
Shit.
Careful.
All right.
We're on a
Sorry,
Jenga
listeners.
set.
I almost fucking knocked over the whole table.
We might as well get a Fisher Price table, honestly. Just some fold-out thing. It might be better than this. Now, as soon as Wendy recovers, she immediately becomes a matriarchal figure to the Lost Boys, even to John and Michael, who become the newest members of the gang. Their first big adventure comes in the form of a rescue mission as the... Look, this is not a term that's often used and associated with such horrendous racial slang, but
I swear to God.
the Pickaninny Princess Tiger Lily. It's like, it's not an A+ on the racism scale, but it's not great. You still shouldn't use the word
Do
Pickaninny.
you feel like maybe that's just because there's less of a large crowd telling you to not do it?
Yeah, well, it's fallen out of favor or out of knowledge over time. I'm sure if we invited it to Twitter, all of a sudden the Trump train is going to start being like, Pickaninny! Like,
No. Bold of you to assume that anyone would visit our Twitter. That was bullshit.
It still is bullshit. I still do it.
Holy fuck.
So,
Once again, just go. Holy shit.
their first big adventure comes in the form of a rescue mission as the Pickaninny Princess Tiger
Stop
Lily.
saying
I'm
it.
sorry.
Just say fucking Tiger Lily.
I'm reading.
If it's questionable, just say the fucking name.
Has been kidnapped by the nefarious Captain Hook. Hook, or Jimmy, as he was known before then, was in love with Peter's mother back in the day. When she married Peter's father instead, Jimmy kept a photo on her on the inside of his pocket watch. In a later fight with Peter, Hook tells him he's got a picture of his mother on the inside. Peter demands to see it, as he can't recall what she looks like. But instead, Hook throws the locket into the ocean, where it's eaten by a crocodile. So Peter cuts off Jimmy's motherfucking hand and feeds it to that same crocodile. Ever since, the crocodile has hunted Jimmy, now known as Captain Hook, hoping for the full course meal, and could be heard stalking him with an ominous ticking sound coming from his belly. They did not put that part into the Disney movie.
Yeah, ain't nothing about a mom in a locket.
And about mauling a man. Something about mauling a man gave you a turn-on sound, which was weird.
I didn't mean to express that.
Can you believe what that bear did to Jimmy?
I was just thinking. I was like, wait, is that what mauling is? Cutting shit off? I thought mauling was like, a boar fucks you up, or like a dude fucking just like beats you to fucking death on the concrete. Like,
about to teach you what mauling is.
I'm very, very aware. Why do you think my memory is so bad?
The Lost Boys successfully rescue Tiger Lily at the Mermaid's Lagoon and whisk her away to their hideout in the jungle, not seeing when Peter is severely wounded by Captain Hook. As the pirates leave the scene, Peter is left to bleed out on the rocks. Believing this to be the end, Peter says, quote, "To die will be an awfully big adventure." But he doesn't die, as a large never bird lends Peter her nest to use as a boat.
Captain Hook sucks at fucking murder. I mean, if this kid has been like literally immortal for this long, you're gonna leave him to bleed out?
Yeah, he's like a James Bond villain.
Like, come on.
And now I will leave you unsupervised. Yeah, pretty much.
I'm sure he'll die. What?
Well, a large neverbird lends Peter Pan her nest to use as a boat, where he's then able to sail home, basically just kind of borrowing from the Kensington Gardens story. However, with the pirates believing Peter Pan dead, they go to the jungle where they correctly believe the Lost Boys' hideout to be. But they're beaten back by by Tiger Lily's tribe, who have allied themselves with the Lost Boys.
How fucking easy was that?
In gratitude for her rescue.
Why did you even throw that in?
There's an entire thing about we're off to fight the Injuns. Yeah, and what makes the red man red?
Yeah, I forgot that shit.
I don't think Pickaninny is near as bad, at the very least.
As the whole sequence?
As the entire movie, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Oh, God, it's racist and creepy.
It's very racist.
And very creepy.
We'll get to that, too. Now, Peter arrives in time.
Great.
Peter arrives in time to be saved by Wendy, who touts the importance of medicine no matter how bad it tastes. While caring for Peter, Wendy shyly asks him how he feels about her. And he's like, "Oh yeah, you're great. You're like a mother to me." Which is so much fucking worse than hearing you're like a sibling to me. Like,
especially from this guy.
"Oh, you're like a brother to me." "You're like a father to me." Oh. It's worse.
It does hit pretty actually fucking
That's
hard.
Bad.
Like, people bitch about being like friend zoned, but like when I'm in like my work,
don't be father zoned.
I have literally been told like, "Oh, you remind me so much of my dad," and it's just like, fuck.
Does that turn you on for some weird reason? No. Oh, fuck this. I'm out of here.
No, it's not that vibe at all.
It never is, nor should it be. Well, it's not long after him telling Wendy this that she decides she's going back home with Michael and John. However, upon trying to find their way back, they're captured by Captain Hook. Meanwhile, as the Lost Boys are asleep, Captain Hook poisons Peter's medicine. He explains that it would be much better to see Peter slowly suffer than to slit his throat and all the fun be gone. So I guess that kind of explains it, why he's really bad at...
Yeah,
But why not watch him bleed down on the rocks? Oh, because it's a kid's book. The next day, Tinkerbell says some bitch shit to Peter about Wendy, and they argue, and she storms out. By the way, there's no mention of Tinkerbell being hot as shit in the book. In the original stage production, they just shined a small light on the backdrop and rang some bells. In the book, she has actual lines, and she calls the kids a silly ass a lot. Like a lot. But anyway, while Tinkerbell is flying around the jungle looking for a revenge rebound, who should she come across but some pirates talking joyfully about their poisoning of Peter Pan?
Look, if some random kid showed up in your turf and everybody was like, "We want you to be the mom," and you were like, "Oh, okay, fuck me, I guess." Like, you'd be pissed too. Like, what?
But they're also talking about the kidnapping of the darling children. So Tinkerbell rushes back to the hideout just in time to see Peter grabbing the bottle of medicine. She somehow doesn't have the time to say, "Hey, don't," so she snatches the bottle and drinks the poison instead. And as she lay dying, She tells Peter of the poison and the kidnapped children. She, some reason, had time to do it then.
Why the fuck did she drink? You just snatch it. Just snatch it. It's so weird.
Oh, because it's a kid's book.
Yeah.
Peter Peter doesn't know how to fix a fairy, though. And she says, oh, if only people believed in fairies.
Peter doesn't know how to fix shit. Why do you have to specify that it's a fairy? He's a fucking 200-year-old man-child.
He tried to put soap on his shoe and put his shadow back.
All he knows is flying and cutting shit.
All he knows is eat hot chip and lie, this motherfucker.
And creeping on people's houses.
She says, if only people believed in fairies, I could be saved by belief alone. So in a stunning fourth wall break in this stage production, Peter turns to the audience and tells them to clap if they believe in fairies. Which, of course, everyone then claps and Tinkerbell lives. In the book, however, it says...
because they don't know him and understand how fucking weird all this shit is.
Otherwise,
they'd just be staring blankly like, what the fuck?
Just, it's quiet. One person coughs and another dude is like, you've got issues! When does Freud get born? Yeah.
Projection, the play.
Quote, Peter flung out his arms. There were no children there, and it was nighttime, but he addressed all who might be dreaming of the Neverland, and who are therefore nearer to him than you think, boys and girls in their nighties, and naked papooses in their baskets hung from trees.
Oh.
So Peter basically still pleads with the audience, but this time it's just whatever kid this is being read to, and then it says, many clapped, some didn't, a few little beasts hissed. So he was very aware that some kids are shit, at the very least.
Or adults there with their kids.
What parent reading it to their child is going to have the kid start clapping and then they'll like stop their kid? They're like, no.
I knew you'd do that, you little bitch.
Little bastard. I hate her.
I was testing you.
You little ass. Anyway, after Tinkerbell is safe, Peter flies to the pirate ship, sneaking on board to rescue the darling children. As he does, he's spotted by the pirates, beginning a frantic battle that leads straight to a final battle with Captain Hook himself. The battle is fierce, but in the end, Peter Pan kicks Captain Hook off the ship while their swords are entwined and straight into the jaws of the waiting crocodile. Although defeated, Hook feels it was he that truly won, as the action of kicking him off the boat is considered bad form. Basically, he's acting like the Joker if he got Batman to kill him. Yeah.
I don't want to talk about the Joker anymore.
There's so many different generations to cringe at that I really like. I just, got him. You wouldn't get it. Anyway, with Peter in command of the ship, he set sail for London with the darling children and the rest of the Lost Boys. But Peter, in secret, really wants everyone to stay with him in Neverland. So he flies ahead of the ship to kind of scout things out, when in reality, he plans on barring up the children's windows as if the parents don't want them back.
I feel like that got left out of the cartoon as well. Yeah.
Did I also mention the chains? No. But as Peter sneaks up to the window, he hears the...
What the fuck, man?
He's not a portly 40-year-old, though. He's supposed to be like, what, 10? I don't know.
No. That's how we're picturing him for this reading.
Balding and... It's just J.M. Barrie.
Just a really creepy dude with a Michael Jackson complex.
But as Peter sneaks up to the window, he hears the distressing cries of Mrs. Darling, grieving the disappearance of her kids. So Peter simply leaves the window alone. When the ship pulls up to the Darling household, the Lost Boys finally meet a real mother. Loving the affection, they ask to be adopted, which she agrees to. All except Peter, who's afraid if he starts to live a normal life, then he'll grow up, which is his biggest fear.
It's really funny. He's like, well, the well's dry. Time to abduct some more children.
And he will. And Mrs. Darling feels that she remembers Peter Pan from when she was a girl, and recalls a legend that says that when a child dies, it's Peter that escorts their souls partway to the afterlife, so the child isn't scared.
She starts saying it, and he looks over, he's like, shut the fuck. Shut. No.
He just gets his eyes glaze over, and he's like, crazy tale. Well, see you later. He flies out, and his fucking anime music starts going. So he flies back to Neverland, promising to come back each year, which he does, for a while anyway. As the years go on...
That's okay, you can go. No, I promise.
I said I'm coming back.
I promise I'll come back every year. No, please, God.
We'll put the bars on the windows. As the years go on and the children grow up, Peter forgets about Hook, about the Lost Boys, even Tinkerbell, who dies by the next year, as fairies naturally live very short lives. I don't know why he had to include that. They could live very long lives, but he just decided to kill the fucking fairy. You see, Peter has to forget things, as remembering things is a process of growing up. And although this was enough of a bummer ending as is, J.M. Barrie would later make an epilogue for the play, even sadder. One year, Peter Pan comes back to the Darling household to find Wendy completely grown up and married to Toodles, the lost boy that shot her. Peter says Wendy betrayed him by growing up, but discovers that Wendy has since had a daughter named Jane, and Jane has volunteered to go to Neverland and become Peter's mother, just like Wendy had. And since it's hinted that Wendy's mother had done the same, as did Wendy, that means that in time, Wendy will forget about Peter as her mother did, and inevitably so will Jane. And Peter will just keep coming back
this cycle,
generation after generation like a fucking curse.
It's this cycle of daughters being like, okay, Mom, you're really creeping me out. I'm just going to agree so you can let me go to fucking sleep. Holy shit, he's real. Oh my God, no.
Yeah, pretty much. I want to say Toodles in the movie is actually the skunk boy. That one's supposed to be Toodles, I believe. Now, the immediate success of the play prompted J.M. Barrie to re-release the Peter Pan portion of The Little White Bird as its own thing with very minor changes, called Peter Pan at the Kensington Gardens in 1906, released again by Hodder and Stoughton. You see, to a lot of people, the stage play was their introduction to Peter Pan, so re-releasing the old story at its peak popularity was a brilliant idea, as well as having a popular illustrator at the time named Arthur Rackham make 50 illustrations for the book, so art enthusiasts had a reason to pick up the book as well. And while all this is going on, J.M. Barrie was still a great family friend to the Davies. When Michael Davies, one of the inspirations to Peter Pan, became ill in 1906, J.M. Barrie brought the key actors of the stage production as well as props and set pieces to the Davies residence to give him a live performance. And with the ever-growing popularity of the Peter Pan character, J.M. Barrie excitedly conducted a series of photographs with Sylvia Davies' help, the mom, dressing her kids up like characters from the story, while J.M. Barrie himself would play the villainous Captain Hook. Which I don't know if you noticed, but Captain Hook's old name before he got the hook was Jimmy, and J.M. Barrie went by Uncle Jim.
I'm just
around
relieved
the Davies
he's not
boys.
Peter Pan, dude.
Yeah, thank God.
It would have brought my nightmare to life. Fucking Christ.
You could really see the bulge through those HD photographs in those little tights.
I don't know, man. He's 5'3". I mean, usually it's to scale, right?
I don't know, man. Like, I imagine him like Tweedledee and Tweedledum. But I don't know.
What the fuck? What?
Alice in Wonderland, like short and fat, but I don't know. Anyway, the series of
short,
photos.
Scale penis to that, then lose inches because of the fat. You can verify this.
Anyway, the series of photos with the kids dressed up were published in a book called The Boy Castaways. J.M. Barrie presented a copy of the book to Arthur Davies, the father, as a gift. But he very quickly, accidentally, lost it. On a train. Unfortunately, he does not want to be a part of this. He does not like him at all.
Oopsie daisies. It's like, you can just tell him you threw it in the fire. You don't have to make up this elaborate story. Like, now you're telling him you don't like it and you think he's dumb enough to believe you lost it on a train.
Which it kind of seems like maybe he is. He's just, golly gee willikers, I'll get you another signed copy, Dad. Do not call me that. Do not! Unfortunately...
I can't be a father, I'm a boy!
In 1907, Arthur Davies found a lump in his cheek, which quickly led to the discovery of jaw cancer.
Oh, fuck.
Now, the doctors of the time tried their best to save him as best they could, in this case meaning that they removed half of his face. But he quickly passed away at the age of 44 on April 19th, 1907. He lived long enough to know that J.M. Barrie would take care of all medical bills due to his recent success with the Peter Pan IP. During his last few months alive, it was Barrie that kept Arthur company. I'm going to fuck your wife. As J.M. Barrie became closer to the Davies family, he was growing more and more out of touch with his wife, Mary Ansell. Married since 1894, it was reported that the entirety of their 15-year marriage went unconsummated. Like I mentioned before, probably asexual. That is a legally binding thing, to seal the deal.
Being asexual?
No. You have to actually fuck your wife. If you didn't fuck your wife and you guys divorce, it becomes a very messy thing. You have to fuck. I'm serious. It's a legal matter.
What fucking evidence is there for you to have fucked your wife?
I think that he was probably just like, yeah.
Also, like, every time we bring up an asexual person or somebody that might be asexual, it's always somebody with some weird issues. That's not good. Jordan.
No, there's regular people with asexual.
Yeah, but we just never happen to fucking mention it.
Why would I bother researching them? They're normal.
All right, fair enough. Let's go.
I mean, look, there's plenty of fucked up straight people we've gone through, too. Our first episode was Casanova.
Yeah, but you didn't have to mention... Anyway, go on.
Well, there's a reason as to why he went, fucking 15 years of marriage without fucking. And it's because he's asexual, more than likely. Anyway, beginning sometime in 1908, the 47-year-old Mary Ansell began an affair with 24-year-old Gilbert Cannon, who, while he was a writer in his own respects, was essentially James's secretary at this point. So when James found out about their year-long affair in 1909, he demanded a divorce. But Mary said...
No, he's 5'3". I demand a divorce!
But Mary said no. So
Wait,
then
they can do that?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, I think you can bring it to the courts and say, fuck you, I'm doing it anyway. But to James, he instead then said, okay, but I demand you stop seeing Gilbert. Which once again, Mary said, no. Well, all right, then I will give us a legal separation where you can continue seeing Gilbert, but I'm moving out. And yet again, Mary said, no. So old James had to bring his own wife to court just so he'd be allowed a divorce on grounds of infidelity. And 3 months later, in October of 1909, J.M. Barrie was successfully divorced. However, he would have to give his wife a yearly alimony payment for the rest of his life, even after she married Gilbert just a year after. He chose to do so by giving her an envelope filled with cash at a restaurant each year on what used to be their anniversary.
I'm familiar with this practice.
So obviously the divorce was pretty rough on Barrie, and his friends knew how hard this was hitting him. So they politely wrote to the local papers asking them to please not talk about the divorce proceedings. And some actually didn't report on it, but for others, all it did was alert them to the divorce in the first place. So it still became highly publicized. Now the whole country knew he was a cuck.
Whoa.
Yeah. Oh, you think she didn't talk about it? After the loss of her husband, and after the loss of his wife, Sylvia Davies and J.M. Barrie became very close. It's hard to say if they ever became more than friends, but it's unlikely, though Barrie claimed otherwise.
Yeah, I highly fucking doubt it.
Well, he claimed that
I
don't
You know what I
him.
doubt a whole fuck ton less? That he shouldn't have been around those goddamn kids. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, no, I know, but that's why I emphasized in the very beginning of that.
Yeah, no, is he fucking her? Definitely not.
Yeah,
but
no. I think he has a thing for women sometimes, but just not like he's just not into the whole pounding process, but like, he still wants to hold hands and kiss and shit,
Yeah, and he weird just on the cheek though.
Maybe nowhere else.
Maybe a little bit on the forehead before you go to sleep at night.
Blech, fuck! Stop! Gross. Unfortunately.
Imagine that being like the thing you're nodding off from fucking jaw cancer. Like these are your last goddamn moments as your fucking half your face is off and you look over and you're just like, there goes my family.
This man might fuck my wife.
No, I think he knew him well enough at that point to be like, this man might
fuck my kids?
Yeah. Which is a lot worse of a way to look. Yeah, a lot worse thing to think about as you're dying.
Well, unfortunately, as quickly as she was diagnosed with lung cancer, Sylvia passed away on August 27th, 1910 at the age of just 43. Along with her mother, her brother, her brother-in-law, and the nanny, Mary Hodgson, Sylvia named J.M. Barrie as one of the boys' many guardians. However, as James was copying Sylvia's will for her family, they noticed a small discrepancy between the two copies. Jenny, the name of Mary Hodgson...
She named him as a guardian for
she
her
did.
children?
Yeah.
Why? Okay, no.
But...
That's no. That's not where I'm going with it. Hang on, no. They need to name him as one of the children that is being guardianed. if she's buying into this.
Fair.
That doesn't make any fucking sense.
But now here's another creepy thing, though. So the discrepancy between these two copies that the family found, Jenny, the name of Mary Hodgson's sister, had been changed to Jimmy, Sylvia's nickname for James. Basically, Barrie was trying to push the nanny out of the will because they grew to fucking hate one another. In fact, J.M. Barrie really wanted the boys for himself, feeling he was the one who cared about them the most. But eventually...
there's a line, though, in care.
Yes, and trying to write yourself doubly into their care. No, you shouldn't do that. That's weird as fuck. But eventually, Barrie and the nanny, Mary Hodgson, learned to make amends well enough to raise the Davies boys as surrogate parents together. In 1911, J.M. Barrie completed the work of Peter Pan as a novel, feeling that the revisions were complete. First released under the title Peter and Wendy, but later revised to the tale we know it today simply as Peter Pan. The book would go on to reinvigorate the life of the Peter Pan character 7 years after the play premiered. Now, Peter Pan was already massively successful just from the stage play, so the official novelization of the play did not hurt Barrie's fucking wallet. One thing J.M. Barrie decided to do with his absolute assload of cash was to commission a 14-foot bronze statue of Peter Pan, featuring a life-sized 8-year-old boy on top of a huge stump that got like a bunch of woodland critters on fairies on it. Now, Barrie had given the sculptor a picture of Michael Davies dressed as Peter Pan from The Boy Castaways, the photo book, as a reference for how Peter should look. But the sculptor ultimately went with someone else to model instead. So when it was unveiled to Barrie, he was pretty disappointed with the result. He said, "Oh, it doesn't show the devil in Peter."
Yeah, no, I can't think of anything else creepier to say. Yeah, that's peak.
Peak creep.
Peak hidden creepy.
Yeah. Regardless, J.M. Barrie had the statue placed on the edge of Kensington Gardens overnight on April 30th, 1912. He wanted the appearance of the statue to be mystical, as if the fairies placed it there themselves. And he did it without permission.
Oh my god, shut the fuck up. The contractor knows what he's doing. Like, don't, like, no, there are things that are possible and there are things that I've been triggered.
Well, no, he just plops it there fucking overnight. Like, with nobody really knowing
Move it,
about it.
I don't want to fucking touch it. Jesus Christ, I'm sorry I sculpted it.
He did later, quote-unquote, donate the statue to the City of London, but the city officials weren't super thrilled about the addition.
Melt it down, take the gold.
I mean, well, it wasn't like they could just say no since it was a 14-foot hunk of bronze.
Exactly.
It's fucking hard as shit to move in 1912. Critics in the papers also said it was kind of tactless to just force what was essentially a big-ass billboard on the City of London that will document your most famous work forever. Although the addition to the gardens was still loved by families, it didn't stop someone from tar and feathering the statue in 1928. The vandals were never
Holy
caught.
shit, we're doing the wrong thing. No. Hang on. All the fucking electric scooters. Fuck throwing them over the bridge. Tar and feather them. How dare you place this here? How dare you assume I want this on my fucking streets?
I can't throw this bottle because it's made of glass. But I like another
can
balloon
physically.
place.
You're just saying, like,
Wow, that's very kind of you.
you know what? I gotta pee anyway. Hang on. 1, 2.
Why are you counting?
3. I don't fucking know.
In December of 1911, Roald Amundsen raced to the South Pole against explorer Robert Falcon Scott. As some may know, Amundsen made it to the South Pole ahead of Scott, becoming the first man to reach it. Almost 5 weeks ahead of Scott. And while Amundsen became a world-class hero, Scott and 5 of his closest men would die on their voyage. In the last few hours of his life, Scott wrote letters to the people closest to him, one of which was J.M. Barrie, godfather to Robert Scott's son, Peter Scott, who would have been about 3 at the time, asking Barrie to watch over his family. When his body was discovered months later by a search party, the letter was delivered to Barrie, who carried the letter around with him like a second wallet until the day he died. Peter Scott...
Until the day it rained, and he was like, ah, shit.
His son, Peter Scott, named after Peter Pan, would go on to found the Worldwide Fund for Nature, or the reason that the World Wrestling Federation had to change their name. Peter Scott actually designed the panda logo you always see on high schoolers' t-shirts and everything. You know the one I'm talking about.
No
The WWF panda.
What the fuck?
You'll know it when you see it.
All right, yeah.
In 1913, the culmination of J.M. Barrie's career came to head, as he was knighted by King George V, making him a baronet. I don't know what the different classifications mean, so don't ask. Now, following the UK's entry into World War I in 1914, George, the oldest of the Davies boys, and Peter, the middle child, volunteered for service. On March 15th, 1915, George was listening to the morning's briefing on what the day's plans would be to take the hotly contested Ypres River. He sat on
I have some idea what the plan was.
Run! He sat on the inner wall of the trench, not knowing he was high up enough for his head to be exposed to a German sniper. One shot, and George was dead at 21. A letter came for him a week later from J.M. Barrie, informing him that his uncle had just been killed in battle. Peter Davies got out of the war all right, though. He earned the rank of captain, won lots of awards, and fell in love with a 47-year-old woman while he himself was only 20. This woman had a daughter older than Peter. Barrie didn't approve of this, and neither did the nanny. This caused a bit of a rift between them and Peter, but in the end, Peter moved on from his romance. Okay, I thought it was going to be more profound than that.
I got nothing. I mean, it's like, okay, man, look, do your thing. Maybe don't put a ring on that, though.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
I just feel like this is going to be a little bit weirder in like 15 years.
Like, I don't mind a 27-year-old gap on people who are older than that. But I feel like at 20, you know not what you are doing. You think you have it figured out, and you're not allowed to drink yet. Well, not in America, anyway. Anyway, now J.M. Barrie and his producer, Charles Frohman, knew each other since Barrie's beginnings in 1896 and was responsible for introducing Peter Pan to both the U.S. and England. Well, Charles was taking the ocean liner, the RMS Lusitania, across English waters. And on the afternoon of May 7th, 1915, the ship was famously sunk by a German U-boat 11 miles off the coast of Ireland, killing 1,200 people, Charles Frohman being one of them. You should remember this, or maybe not remember it. We watched a YouTube video of like what it would have sunk like in real time when we were drunk.
How late in the night was that?
We don't know the tellings of time.
Well, I definitely don't remember that, so it was probably about 1.
Yeah, actually, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Knowing there weren't enough,
and we were just like, wow.
Whoa,
wow.
Yeah, but we did have a good time watching sumo matches.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
That was riveting stuff. Actually,
that was midweek too.
That was last night. Knowing there weren't enough lifeboats for everyone, Charles declined to be saved. Charles, the captain, an actress named Rita Jolivet, and her brother-in-law stood together as the ship went down, but Rita managed to survive out of all of them and went on to tell the tale. In his last moments alive, Charles turned to Rita and said, "Why fear death? It is the most beautiful adventure in life." He died misquoting Peter Pan. Now, Jack, the eldest Davies boy behind his now deceased brother George, ended up a naval officer by the end of World War I. When he was 23, in 1917, he married a 19-year-old named Geraldine Gibb. He didn't tell anyone about this, just kind of showed up to the family home one day and was like, "Uncle Jim, we need a place to stay." I'm familiar with this practice from a lot of different people. It's one of the only people in our friend group with a house. It is...
Hey man, I need your garage for a few days.
Well, I do have one.
I know you don't have anything going on. Don't worry about it.
I'm so fucking happy that my wife is cool with that. Like, I warned her ahead of time, too. I was like, this is a thing that happens. Like, you've known me when I was living with my dad, and I told my dad that this would happen. I was like, Caleb needs a place to stay for a few days. He's like, all right, you know.
I never ended up at your dad's house.
It was here. I moved into this house after my dad moved out.
Yeah, but then it became your house.
Yeah.
Yeah, so therefore
No,
I never ended up at your dad's house.
It was my dad's at the time.
Did I sleep here?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you were probably on a bender, so you don't remember the several days you were on the couch, but still.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
So, J.M. Barrie just kind of begrudgingly let Jack be the man of the house since he had to get a family started now, you know? He's all married up and shit. And Jack's new wife, Geraldine, and his surrogate mom, Mary Hodgson, fucking hated each other. So much so that Geraldine wasn't there for very long before he married. She just up and quit the family altogether. Been there for fucking decades. Didn't give a shit. Was like, I can't be around the bitch. Now, out of all his relationships with the boys, J.M. Barrie's closest friendships were with George and Michael. While Jack wasn't super keen on how Barrie stepped in to be their father figure before Arthur Davies was even dead. The youngest child, Nico, fucking loved the guy, even though he didn't pay particular attention to him. And Peter? We'll get to Peter here in a bit. Now, Michael Davies was deemed brilliant by anyone who knew him. I mean, he took time out of Oxford to study art at the University of Paris, for Christ's sake. Somewhere along the line, Michael became inseparable friends with a boy named Rupert Buxton. There were questions on if they were more than friends, but no substantial proof either way.
Yeah, nobody's business.
Kind of like us.
Yeah. Whoa, what?
However, a month before Michael's 21st birthday, on May 19th, 1921, he and Rupert went swimming in a popular watering hole. Popular for the number of victims it had. Michael and Rupert had to walk by caution signs and a memorial for all the victims to get to the water.
Man, I really wish this was an old-timey practice, but we do have high rocks.
And here's the thing. I will also like to remind you, because I'm sure that you've heard it once before and don't remember it now, but being gay in England was literally illegal until like 1960-something.
Yeah,
like,
so I mean, like,
like
at that
you
point,
will be jailed.
Like, if you're already gay, like, who gives a shit? Take the risk. Like, you're already living on the edge. Like,
I think they more than knew what they were doing at this point.
Yeah.
When their bodies were recovered, they were found in an embrace, clasped around one another.
Yeah, it's questionable.
Yeah, who knows? No proof one way or another. Although,
however, if you find me and Jordan like that in a river, it was for warmth.
Look, our dicks are the first thing to get frozen. We had only our mouths to just caught in a fucking 69 in the water. Did you find them dead? No, they were actually still alive, and they said, let me finish first.
Is this a good time to bring up our new invented sport?
No, we don't need to talk about that.
It's way weirder if we don't discuss it.
Although some speculate this was a suicide pact, it was ultimately ruled that one boy was drowning and the other tried to save him. But the remaining Davies boys, as well as J.M. Barrie himself, all believed it to be a lover's suicide. Sometime in the 1930s...
Okay, we laughed about that, but that was tragic.
That is tragic. Yeah, that fucking sucks. I mean, that's essentially
two gay
because...
dudes committing suicide.
Yeah, you're living in...
Gay.
Yeah, you're living in a first world country and you will be treated like fucking trash because you don't have a fucking choice in how... Come on. Like, it sucks.
Yeah.
That's... Anyway. Sometime in the 1930s, J.M. Barrie met two royal children, Princess Margaret and her sister, the future Queen of England, Elizabeth II. Barrie spent time playing and telling them tales, and the 3-year-old Princess Margaret announced, "He is my greatest friend, and I am his greatest friend." By the way, I actually wrote out a fucking letter, because apparently what does the Queen do? She doesn't do anything but play Wii and has, and answers tweets and shit, but I am writing out... I
honestly doubt she answers tweets.
I know. No, but there is a royal family correspondent and shit. I've written a letter that I'm going to send out that's just like... Anything you want to say about that? Like, it's J.M. Barrie. Like, I don't know. Anything else? Because I couldn't find shit about it. Like, I don't know. Do you even remember? Why not? Might as well try it
I
out.
doubt you'll get a response. I mean,
Probably.
we can't even get normal people onto our Twitter, man.
There was a kid that wanted to mow the lawn of the White House for like $20 and he got to do it. You know, like who knows?
Yeah, you're
Some
not
people
a child though. You're an almost 30-year-old man.
Yes, but I'm short for my age, and I believe that I'm a.
No, you're not short for your age. You're in that tragic middle ground. You're not just you're. We're in the same space, man. We're almost there. Didn't quite cut
we're
it.
not in the same space, boy. I am 2 inches taller than you.
Are you?
Yeah,
You 5'11"?
5'10".
That's 1 inch taller than me, man.
You're 5'8".
You can lord it over me all you want. I lord it over all the shorter guys than me.
I might be 5'11".
No,
I don't know.
no. Okay.
My posture's
No,
bad. I don't know.
No, fuck you. 5'9", king of the manlets. That middle zone between there and 6 feet, that's just a tragedy.
I am a tragedy.
Okay.
I've known this.
Well, then we're in agreement.
We're Credence.
Did you fart? Or is that just what this room smells like?
It might be. I got a lot of dead shit
We're
in
losing
here.
momentum. Please
Now, while
proceed.
J.M. Barrie continued to write plays throughout the 20s, he didn't really have a need to. I mean, Peter Pan was hands down his greatest success, and he didn't have to worry about money a single day of his life because of it. However, it was what he enjoyed, so he just kept doing it. His last project was his first foray into film. He helped write the script for a Shakespearean film called As You Like It in 1936. It's not a good title. At some point, probably while he was working on the movie script, J.M. Barrie was placed in a nursing home in West London. After a brief bout of pneumonia, Sir James Matthew Barrie succumbed to his illness on June 19th, 1937, at the age of 77. Upon his death, a woman named Cynthia Asquith received the bulk of his inheritance. She had been a secretary of Barrie starting sometime in the 1910s and over the course of the next couple of decades. She and Barrie became very close friends. Money was also set aside for the remaining Davies boys, Jack, Peter, and Nico. And he also had a separate account to give his ex-wife her annual salary.
So it was ex-wife
for after
while
he was
had
gone.
The secretary? Okay, it wasn't even... All right.
Yeah. He's still giving out money on their anniversary. Just...
Yeah.
Oh. However, the copyright to all his Peter Pan works were given to the Great Ormond Street Hospital in London, where the money continued to roll in from the royalties until 2007. So in 2006, the hospital quickly commissioned a sequel to Peter Pan called Peter Pan and Scarlet, which sounds like a porno, in hopes that the gossip of the first official sequel to Peter Pan would roll the money in, but it didn't look like it really worked. Peter Pan in Scarlet.
Oh,
hell yeah, boy.
Why did you take that there?
It sounds like it.
There's no reason to.
You're gonna call it Peter Pan and Chaps and
What
not
the
mention
fuck
it?
kind of porn are you watching? My shit is always just weird, broken English. Anyway, go on.
Peter Davies, the namesake of Peter Pan, lived his life never to have that fact forgotten, that he was the Peter Pan. He grew to hate his name, calling the story, quote, that terrible masterpiece. Upon Barrie's death...
You can always change your name, bud.
I guess he was too lazy.
No,
fuck it. Fuck it, I came first!
No, I hate it.
Upon Barrie's death, he saw his incoming inheritance as reparations for what he felt Barrie put him through. However, the amount he received didn't feel like enough, putting him on the path of a rage-fueled alcoholic. Jack Davies, second eldest of the Davies boys, had a fruitful Navy career until his death on September 17th, 1959, from lung disease at the age of 65, just 7 months shy from April 5th, 1960, when the 63-year-old Peter Davies threw himself in front of a train at Sloane Square Station. He was suffering from emphysema, and his wife and all 3 of his children had recently contracted the deadly Huntington's disease. Which, by the way, although he figured they were all going to die soon anyway, he was fucking wrong. Wife died 10 years later in 1970, first kid died 30 years later in 89, second one in 98, and the third one is still alive. As much as he hated the name Peter, he still named one of his kids Peter Jr. And when he died, all the newspapers sensationalized the headlines by calling him the real Peter Pan, just as a last kick in the nuts.
Oh, that's mad shitty.
Yeah. Nico did all right. lived until
Hey,
October.
do you feel like that might be like a massive bit of disrespect there? Yes, but
money
from headline.
We are the Sun. Nico did all right. He lived until October 14th, 1980 in Kent, age 76. There it is. Although the first adaptation to Peter Pan was a 1924 silent film, people, of course, most remember the 1953 animated Disney feature. This had always been a bit of a pet project for Walt Disney, as he played the title character in a school play when he was a kid. The movie originally began production in 1940, but after Pearl Harbor, the Disney studios were kind of forced to make propaganda war films for the next handful of years. So they started back up on the Peter Pan project in 1949. There were some changes they made, like the whole thing with Tinkerbell slowly dying of poison and the audience clapping is the only way to revive her. They thought a while about how to achieve this same effect before just figuring they'd try to kill her off with a bomb instead. And who can forget the song What Makes the Red Man Red?
Oh, fuck, here we go.
And how that was not a part of the original play. They just had to put it in there. Well, we're going to put different people in here and we're not going to point it out?
It's like, wait a minute, you're going out of your way.
Yeah, they did.
To be racist.
It's a good song, though.
Like, it's not even in there.
It's a banger. Sick
You're making me extremely
drumbeat.
uncomfortable.
Now, it's rumored that Tinkerbell was modeled after Marilyn Monroe, but she wasn't. She was modeled after dancer Margaret Carey, who they hired from a nearby dance studio. Disney nowadays has Tinkerbell fly over the Magic Kingdom during their fireworks show at the end of each night. You ever see that shit?
Do I ever see Tinkerbell?
Well, did you ever go to Disneyland?
No.
Dude,
Wait,
I swear to
yes.
God, it is still magical for adults. The food is fantastic. No booze, but we can bring our own flask.
No,
Don't worry about
remember
that.
I was from the South. I went to Disney World.
Ah, okay.
Which is definitely has some dick swing on your little land over here. With all these parks. Like all the fucking parks they have there. It's way radder. I don't even have
Florida?
to go. Yes.
Yeah, but half the things in there are just crocs. I don't want them.
They keep the crocs out.
What about the snakes?
That's uncontrollable.
Okay, well, ours are gardener snakes. They are harmless. Yours are...
Look, I'm still scared of them because of the other snakes I've seen, okay? Like, I don't want to talk about it.
So, at the end of the fucking night, though, basically, they have this big fireworks display. Costs about $1 million a night, but they don't care.
You don't got to explain this to me.
And basically, at the end of the night, they have Tinkerbell fly out over the fucking castle in the distance and everything. It's very fucking magical. When this was first performed in 1961, she was portrayed by a 71-year-old Hungarian woman named Tiny Klein. Don't worry, she was a trained circus performer. She did this for 3 years.
Okay, not worried.
I do like.
Don't worry, she's a circus performer.
I do love it though. Just
don't worry, she's a fucking carny.
Like, yeah, who's this 71-year-old woman? She's our new Tinkerbell. Tink, say hello. Just sucks on her cigarette. Duh.
Who the fuck else do you think is ready to get slung around by a crane? Are you ready?
Oh shit, where is it? It's got
What
my
you got?
pronunciation. Oh, here we go. And I'd just like to mention J.M. Barrie's hometown of Curry-Muir is very proud of the fact that they are the home of Peter Pan. They have a Neverland Park and a Peter Pan statue of their own in the town square.
And they hate Michael Jackson.
They don't have any ranches. But they're equally proud of the fact that Bon Scott, former AC/DC vocalist, lived in Curry-Muir until his folks brought him to Australia when he was 8. They now have an annual Bonfest. I don't know what it entails. I tried to look it up.
Bonfire?
No. I think they just play a bunch of shitty 80s music.
Oh.
Finally, what more can we say of J.M. Barrie? But that the psychological dwarfism he was inflicted with would later
not a thing.
Go on to be known as Peter Pan syndrome. My sources today: Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie, Bookspan 2003, Book of the Month Club Edition, and Wikipedia. You're not going to fight the thousands of scientists that agree with whatever I researched on a shady website. Doo-doo.
Bullshit. Bullshit. No, you cannot think yourself
It
into
actually
being
is very.
small.
It's very disputed. It actually is very disputed.
Of course
And
it fucking is.
yeah.
You know why? Because it's fucking bullshit.
I wish I could think myself taller.
Exactly.
And more muscular.
Or shorter, I don't know. Like
I'm drunker right now,
some kind of
actually. I
fucking
wish.
control after
I wish
that.
I was drunker.
It'd be a lot
Here we go. Although I will say, anytime my parents called me when I was any sort of inebriated teen, I could pretty quickly, like, okay, go time.
Oh, that's adorable.
Hi,
You're
Mom.
an adult and you still think you were playing it off and that they just didn't give a shit.
Hi, Jordan. How are you doing? Ah! I did good, guys.
I've walked 2 blocks down the street from the party and I'm outside and they're not going to find those noises questionable at all. No, they just didn't fucking care. And they didn't have the energy.
No, I was spending the night at Brandon's house and not some 20-something-year-old while I was in high school.
Anyway. No, dude, that's... Yeah, I mean, not that Peter Pan was some, like, closely held thing for me.
No, but
yeah,
everyone knows Peter Pan.
Everybody fucking knows Peter Pan, and it is a part of, like, the childhood movies you fucking watch and
Yeah.
shit. And yeah, you just wrecked that.
Good.
So.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I thought he was a pedophile, though. I really looked into it.
What do you mean thought?
No, man, he really isn't.
Okay, regardless of whether or not anything, like...
Oh, well, no sexual contact happened.
Okay,
I'll say that much.
No, that's what I'm going to fucking say.
Yeah,
Is, like,
you're
regardless
right.
of whether or not, like, anything we would consider... Like, we would consider fucking sexual contact between adults happened, like, yo, dude, if he's writing about, like, visiting their fucking, like, windows and shit and, like, listening in to their mom tell them the fucking bedtime stories, like, yo, some creepy, weird shit that is hitting that same part of the brain for him, just not in that form, is fucking happening. Like, if he's getting into their goddamn window at night, like, dude, that is a proxy for him. That is fucking weird. That is fucking creepy.
Well, that's why you got a St. Bernard. He was too short to see into their window, so he has to stand on the dog.
Wait, St. Bernard, because he was 5'3", and as another manlet, I'll tell you that's why I have a large dog.
To look into women's windows?
No, because when somebody wants to attack me, there's the dog. You see.
Man, you better hope that anyone who attacks you is not a dog person and just looks at a Great Pyrenees and goes, oh, he's not going to do shit.
Right. But
yeah.
Well, you got anything else? No one can see the jerk off motion. I doubt that Mike even picked that up. You're going to have to go